Hello, I'm Alexandra Coghlan and I'm here in the rolling Sussex Downs at Glyndebourne. It really is a special place, fields full of sheep, beautiful gardens for picnicking, and of course extraordinary opera. It's a perfect environment for Nicholas Hytner's sunny Così, tutte. All women are like that, says Don Alfonso to his two friends, Ferrando and Guglielmo, betting them that in just one day he can prove both their fiancés unfaithful. And with that provocative challenge, so begins Mozart's comedy of disguises, deception and desires. In accepting the challenge, the two boys find themselves unwittingly enrolled in Don Alfonso's school for lovers, tested alongside their fiancés Fiordiligi and Dorabella. Throw in their opportunistic maid Despina, and you have all the elements of a fizzing farce. But scratch the surface and you find a portrait of human nature in all its flaws and weaknesses. Rather than mirror it, Mozart sets it to some of his most sublime music. So we're out here in a garden where so much of Act 2 of Così actually takes place. I think when we're talking about Mozart opera, we get so distracted by these wonderful arias and ensembles that we actually forget to talk about the bits in between. What is recitative, to start off with?
Recitative is the music that moves the plot on, I suppose, is the traditional explanation. And it's very conversational, speech-like music. And delivered in a very speech-like fashion. And in Così, he uses it very playfully to develop the characters. Don Alfonso, for example, when he's thinking up his plan to fool the girls, we hear his thought process. But maybe she could recognise. She might spoil my plans. Let's see. Maybe I could give her a gift. And then so on. We hear all of his thoughts about how to bring her into the plan, perhaps, to fool the girls.
It's wonderfully revealing about character, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's thoroughly enjoying himself, isn't he?
And you also hear his mind wander in the way Mozart takes us.
So harmonically, we've arrived at a totally new thought.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And when you're performing recitative,
yes,
as a keyboard player, how much is left up to you? How much is Mozart doing? What makes a really good recitative performance?
I think the key is that we, the cellist and the forte pianist, need to know it so well that we can be with the stage. Because we obviously rehearse the contours of the production, we know where they're going to be on the stage, but really it should feel improvised. Mm-hmm. We know what text is coming, we know what notes are coming, but we don't know when. Yeah. And we also have a huge palette of, I've got the full range of the keyboard and I can improvise a phrase to respond or to fill in a gap that might not have been there the previous night, or to thicken out the texture. We've got all that, and then this is a response to something. We can really use the whole keyboard.
And does Mozart do anything differently to earlier composers, like if we compare him to Handel?
Yes, the way the recit cuts in and interrupts these things is I think is new and exciting. Particularly in this, the way he plays with the recit's relationship to the arias and the ensembles is fascinating. It feels more through composed. For example, at the beginning of the opera, in Don Alfonso's first bit of lecture to the boys, the recit finishes with "Quanto mi piaci mai semplicità," which is, oh, you guys are so simple and naive. And we start immediately, "E la fede delle femmine come." So the aria begins immediately and sort of develops out of the recitative rather than the recitative finishing and the aria starting.
So emotionally and dramatically, there's a real through line. There's no kind of let up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Tom, you're the production manager at Glyndebourne. Can you tell me a bit about what that actually involves?
So I guess it's taking a production from the earlier stages of concept, delivering that to the stage, and everything involved in delivering the scenery through that process.
And this is the model for Così, tutte, and the whole sort of idea of this production is Neapolitan sunshine, summertime, gardens, outdoors. How does Vicky Mortimer's set create that atmosphere for us?
Well, we've got two things going on. We've got an interior space which is distinctively 18th century, and then we have an exterior space, but also the infinity of the blue azure sky beyond. And I suppose the colour palette is really, really important here. Lots and lots of very soft tones, and of course water is so, integral to the Neapolitan atmosphere, if you like, because of the bay. And so we've got these water pools in the upper area in this terrace.
You've worked on so many sets, so many different model boxes have come through your office. Is there anything about this one that really, the design for this opera that really excites you?
It's exquisitely beautiful, but actually very, very understated. And I think that's really about, Così it's a six-hander. It's a very, very intimate piece. And the scenography can't stand in the way of that, which is why this is so beautifully subtle, I think.
So Glyndebourne's production of Così in 1934 has been described as a real turning point for the opera, but what was so important about it?
It was relatively unknown back in those days. So Don Giovanni and Figaro were much better known, but Così fan tutte was very, very, very little known. There hadn't been a production of it in the 20th century in this country, so it was the first one to be staged.
So you really led the way at Glyndebourne?
We did. We were pioneering.
Yeah, it's now got such a reputation as a Mozart house.
Yeah.
But what, both then and now, new house, old house, what is it about the combination of Mozart's music and Glyndebourne that is such a good fit?
The scale of the operas, the size of the orchestra, the size of the chorus suits the old theatre and this new theatre extremely well. There's an intimacy to the operas. The text is very important in Mozart, and you can hear every single word, especially in this new house. It's the scale and the intimacy and the sheer joie de vivre that these operas are. It's just part of our DNA.
Riccardo Minazzi conducts Nicholas Heitner's production of Così fan tutte. An exciting cast of singers are led by Hira Haysang Parker's Despina and Alessandro Corbelli as the puppet master Don Alfonso.